todos, my name is Sandra Milena, your vintage mommy. I am a Gen X mama for the first time in my 40s, married to a Swedish Viking who doesn't remember that much about his childhood, and we're raising our gringo toddler who happens to remember everything. Today, I'm talking about Gen X parenting, because listen, millennials are not the only ones breaking cycles. This Gen X mom is breaking the rules. Yep. While also thinking, hey, if I hit him a little bit, just a little bit, maybe he'll listen. Just kidding. Calm down, YouTube. No hitting. Only love. No chancla here. Yes, and I do my hearts like this because I'm old. Vintage mommy, da, da, da. Vintage mommy, da, da, da. So, do you ever feel like modern parenting advice is designed to make you feel like be gentle, but not too gentle? Play with them, but let them get bored. Be present, but raise an independent human. Like what? It's like IKEA instructions, kind of like they think they help, but you're like, but at least with IKEA, they throw an Allen wrench, you know? With parenting, it's like, no, honey, no. So I try to take everything with a grain of salt, and I make my own concussion because, let me be real, Gen X childhood was a different sport. We had no helmet, no supervision. There was no negotiations with your parents, you know? The feelings talk, I don't think we had those. And the chancla. Listen, the chancla. The aim of that thing was like for the Olympics. Like a comba. I don't know how to say it in English. Like it turns around and it hits you, whatever you are. But does that make our parents bad? No, not at all. Not at all. And I want to make sure that I highlight that I'm not trying to throw shade on our parents, my parents, or parents before us. Everybody, for the most part, I think that parents do their best and love their kids and think that whatever we're doing is for the best of them, is for to give them a better life. And we do it with the tools that we have, with our knowledge, financially, emotionally, mentally. These are the tools that we have at the moment, and that's what we use. So no shade. Kudos, props to all the parents who did it without the internet. You know, like they had nowhere to go for answers. They did what they thought was best. And most of us turn out okay. Even though our parents did the best they could, we still had a little bit of trauma, and you don't realize how much childhood trauma you're carrying until you have a toddler and the kid does something and I become the Latina. Dios mío, ¿qué pasó aquí? And then I'm like, okay, cálmate. He's 3. He's not trying to ruin my life. He's not going and buying a car with my credit card. Not yet. So yeah, parenting for me, it triggers so many things from my childhood, from my past, that you need to check yourself. And the one advice that I will give any mama is heal your inner child before you have a toddler. Because listen, once the labor fun is over, holy crap. You're like, wait, what? I'm responsible for turning this little burrito into an adult. That's when my brain started spinning, spiraling. Do I hit him? Do I hit him, like put him in the closet? Do I wash his mouth with soap? Just kidding. Again, YouTube, don't Don't go calling the cops on me. But there's so many things that just start brewing in your brain, or at least in mine, when I was like, okay, I am building an adult. The real question is, how do I raise a kid who doesn't need a therapist when he's 12 or spends all his adult money in therapy? How do I make a functional adult with values, emotional maturity, and confidence, who also thinks that mommy's there always, but mommy's not your personal assistant or your maid or your buddy? No. So how do you do that? Anybody? And one thing that I wish I did is, that no one tells you really to do, is with this whole parenting conversation that you don't have with your boyfriend, obviously not on a first date, don't do it. But you don't have it with your fiance, you don't have it, not even with your husband, not even when you're pregnant or planning a baby. And it should be a required meeting. It should be like a Zoom call with your souls, just trying to figure out, if we ever in charge of a creature that will eventually turn to be an adult, how do we do it? Because you are two different people raising one human. Different cultures sometimes, different upbringings, obviously, unless you're like cousins or something. Different traumas, different definitions of discipline. So maybe one of you had the chancla, maybe one of you had the Swedish, I don't know, silence or nothing. So if you're watching this and you're planning to have a baby, if you're pregnant, if you have a fiance, if you want to start a family, have that conversation with your partner and talk about boundaries, talk about discipline, talk about emotions. How are we going to talk to this little person? How are we going to tell him so he doesn't get two separate parenting styles? And it will save you fights. It will save you, aisle 5, Target. I told you to tell him to do this way. Or, you know what I'm saying. My husband and I, we do have a lot of disagreements on how to raise our child. I am more of, let him be. He's a kid, and he's more of structure, like, he needs to know that this is not how it happens. I'm like, he would learn, we don't need to be every day telling him, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. Like, give him a chance to explore, give him a chance to be a child. So there is a lot of disagreements that we try to have, at nighttime when he's sleeping and he's not listening, but it definitely comes out sometimes when we're in the middle of a tantrum and trying to control him. So my parenting style, or our parenting style, it's gentle, but it's not a marshmallow. You ain't walking all over me. It's firm, but there's no chancla, there's no belt, there's no, hiding you in the closet or putting you in a timeout. It's somewhere in the middle, it's like firm tofu maybe. That's good, So I wanted to keep from my childhood, like my independence, playing outside, creativity, just being bored and making my own toys out of wood or out of, pebbles in the street, or a paper make into a boat and playing outside in the rain. I kept that. What I don't want from my childhood is the yelling. Unfortunately, it happens. I do yell at my kid and I catch myself. It's hard sometimes when you get spit on your face or hit with Buzz Lightyear or something on your face, and you take a deep breath and you understand that that's where I came from. That's what I learned when I was a little kid. So I want that out. I want the guilt out. You know, I don't want to make him feel like it's your fault for anything that you do. No, it's my fault. It's my job to shape you and to make sure that you do the right thing. I want to leave the fear of I'm your mom and you do it because I'm your mom. No, you deserve an explanation. They do deserve an explanation. These tiny creatures, they understand a lot more than you think. They do. They have a big head. So keep that in mind. Their brain is like a lot bigger than their body. They understand. Talk to them. That's what I do with mine, you know, and I try to explain and tell him that it's okay to ask questions for anything and everything in life. From my husband, my little Swedish Viking, honestly, not much because he doesn't remember anything from his childhood when I ask him. You know, he remembers things, but it's more like superficial. Like when it comes to feelings and when it comes to talking about, you know, what were your feelings when you were little? He shuts down a little bit. Why are men like that? Talk to us. Talk to me. Tell me what's going on. How much trauma you have. Let's talk about trauma. But yeah, from my husband, you know, he had a really nice childhood growing up in Sweden. Also, you know, outside a lot, exploring. So he wants that. When we talk about generations, you know, the boomers, they had the respect is fear. Gen X, I think we just survived. Millennials, and they heal everything with a Pinterest board. And Gen Z, you know, everything is a suggestion. Bedtime is a suggestion, and eating, you need to no, I don't need to let my kid decide anything. My job is to make the good decisions for them, give them options maybe, but they can't decide. They're not built to make decisions, you know. They are learning everything, and my job is to have the road for them where they can make that decision where they can be and learn without having to make decisions. Because if I let him choose, he'll eat chocolate until midnight and probably not go to sleep or something until he drops down. So yeah, that's I want to exit from that generation education. You know, I want to grab a little bit from everybody. You know, I want to grab information from as many places as I can and educate myself and raise my child. Because at the end of the day, all I want is a kid who grows up knowing that you are safe, that you are loved, that your feelings matter, and the mommy will always be there. But also that I don't negotiate with terrorists. The toddler kind, no negotiations there. Also, that I am the parent. I'm not your roommate. I'm not your friend. I'm not your maid. I'm not your assistant. I am your parent. And I will make decisions based on that, based on your well being. And I guess that you can be bored, you know? It builds creativity, gives me 3 minutes to pee or something. So go and play with piedritas. That's what they used to tell us. Go play outside, you know? I'm not going to tell him that, but he needs to know that it's okay to not be pampered 24/7. That is my Gen X and very proud parenting philosophy. Breaking cycles, staying sane, in raising a responsible adult and not a man child. If you like this video, subscribe, click like, leave me some comments, because I wanted to do this video before I did any of my how am I raising my child, just for everyone to kind of understand where I come from. Like, how do you decide what to do with a child that speaks 3 languages and sometimes takes advantage of that, with a child who is going to be multicultural, and is growing up in this AI technology era that is super scary to me. So more to come. Thank you so much for watching. Ciao, ciao. Besitos.